Okay, so here I am on this rainy day in Australia at Byron Beach. It's a rainy morning, and it was a very rainy, very heavy rain last night, which kind of kept me awake a little bit. Normally I sleep really well in stormy weather, but for whatever reason I was lying awake last night thinking a lot, and of course thinking about my upcoming hike of the Appalachian Trail, and even reminiscing a bit about my hike, my Camino in Spain last summer. And you know, I always come back to this, you know, this same question of, why am I doing this, especially when I think about all the other things that I could be doing that really, it's a little, these other things that I could be doing, it's a lot easier to really sort of even justify those. Answering the why question for those are a lot easier, but why am I compelled to get out there and hike the 2,200 miles of the Appalachian Trail? And why did I set aside last summer to hike around 600 miles in France and Spain? What's the purpose? And it's I think we all of us, whether you're a pilgrim on the Camino or through hiker on the Appalachian Trail, we all have our different reasons, but we have reasons. I thought about this a little bit, when I was hiking on the Camino de Santiago. For those of you, my Appalachian Trail followers, may not be familiar with the Camino de Santiago in Spain, but you can Google it. Anyway, so for me, I think for just about everybody that does something like this, especially the Appalachian Trail that's so demanding, I think, we are trying to prove something, but that's not necessarily the real reason. The thing that really compels me to get out there. And there's lots of, these hikers, I think it's true both on the Camino and the Appalachian Trail. A lot of it are young people going through a transition in their life. They've just maybe completed school and getting ready to enter the workforce and begin a career. And then other people that are maybe have just retired. And then especially on the Camino, it's a lot of people that, are deliberately getting out there to really come to terms with some sort of life issue. And, it's interesting. It's always been interesting for me to think about or to hear, what other people's reasons for hiking are. But when I was hiking the Camino, I came up with this sort of metaphor of like a bathtub, a reservoir of water that when everyone's born, you've got this full tub of water, which is nice. And the thing is, the plug is immediately pulled. But when you've got a full tub of water, and even when the plug is pulled at the bottom, the drain is pulled, you don't really notice it. The water is draining out pretty slowly, and this reservoir of water, if you haven't figured out the metaphor yet, are the days of our life, the time we have here on Earth. And when you're young, like I said, you really don't notice it. But, I've reached the age where all of a sudden I have sort of seen this little whirlpool going and wondering, what the heck is that all about? And then, the realization that, the tub is getting shallower and shallower, and that drain is sucking down the water, or the days of your life. And you know, it's kind of like the Grim Reaper staring right at you. And I have to confess that you know, I can see that whirlpool, and you know, that gives you a sense of urgency, and it also gives you well, it forces you to sort of, you know, assess your life. You know, what have you accomplished so far? Not only, you know, maybe you want to create a bucket list of what you want to make sure that you accomplish now that you realize your days are indeed numbered, but you know, it's also caused me to sort of look back and try to justify, you know, the days that I've spent, and so it's that type of reflection that I think is a big part of the why for me. When I get out on a trail and I'm out walking by myself, it's a perfect way to do that. So yes, you're getting out into nature and you're looking at, you know, all these great scenes, a big ocean out there in front of me, and you know, climbing up atop a mountain and getting a great view over a valley, and you know, hearing all the different animals in the trees, and you know, that's nice, and it's getting out and seeing new things. But you know, for me, and I think a lot of us thru hikers, and it's a journey inward, you know. And I talked about this a little bit when I was in Patagonia hiking the W Trek in my blog for my students, about how that trek really, even though I traveled to the bottom of the earth, to really sort of take a journey inside and address some of those issues. So for me, that's kind of the why. And I think since I've been here in Australia, I've met a few other people that are actually hikers themselves, a couple that are regulars. They haven't thru hiked the PCT, but are regular section hikers of the PCT. And I may pick their brain a little bit and ask them, you know, what it is that draws them to the trail. Okay, so here I am back in my hotel room, and I got to think about what I was talking about on the beach early this morning. And you know, I've actually met quite a few people here in Australia that are actually pretty close to my age, and some of them are hikers as well. So yeah, I wasn't really quite sure where this video was going to go, but I'm going to ask them if they want to say a few words about their experience. Well, you know, maybe just their experience as travelers in general, but you know, like I said, a few of them are regular section hikers on the PCT, and maybe pick their brains a little bit about, you know, what it is that draws them to the trail and getting out and having these type of adventures. Well, I started this video in Australia on the beach, but right now I'm in New Zealand, in the mountains. So the environment has changed a little bit, but had some unexpected events, unfortunately, for my friends Bob and Nadia, who I promised I would interview with their input about their adventures on the Pacific Crest Trail, but they had some other matters they needed to take care of, and they needed to fly back to the States. So Bob and Nadia and the rest of your family, we're thinking about you. But I'm not able to get you in my video, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to hear your comments about the Pacific Crest Trail. But wish you the best, and happy trails. Well, it's too bad that Bob and Nadia aren't here to talk to you about the Pacific Crest Trail, but we've lucked out. My new friend Nevin is going to talk to us in great detail, actually, about the hiking trails that are available here in New Zealand. So here's my new friend Nevin.
Hey, Bill's asked me to speak to you. My name's Nevin, actually. Bill's asked me to speak to you about hiking in New Zealand. Now, New Zealand is a hiker's paradise. We've got a long history of it, dating right back to the late 1800s. And we've got really good setup in New Zealand, but if you don't quite know the New Zealand system, it can be a little bit confusing. Basically, we have about 8 national parks in New Zealand. There's 3 in the North Island and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the South Island, so that makes 9. From Stewart Island right up to the top of the North Island. So these national parks are all administered by our Department of Conservation, and if you're coming to New Zealand, people are going to say, oh, you go to the DOC office. It's not a doctor, it's the DOC, Department of Conservation, and they manage all our national parks, and that's everything to do with the conservation work, the protecting our native species, regeneration, just making sure all those parks are okay. But they also manage the huts and the hikes inside the parks. So in our national parks, there's about 15,000 kilometers of hiking trail. So that's about 10,000 miles for you guys. So there's plenty to do. And the trails are divided up into different sort of standards. So you've got what we call, you've probably all heard of the Great Walks, or maybe you've heard of the Great Walks. So there's 10 and there will soon be 11 Great Walks. And these hikes, these Great Walks, they have better facilities, the track's better maintained, the bridges are bigger. They're basically designed because the Department of Conservation is there for all New Zealanders and everybody. We want people of all ages to be able to, so if you're of moderate fitness, of all ages, to be able to get into the bush, explore some of these really amazing places, and these Great Walks do take you to the amazing places. So they've got a really well developed trail. The huts are very comfortable, not like, you know, hotel like, but you know, there's bunks and you're sharing rooms. It's dormitory with bunks, or sometimes it's just big wide open areas. But the kitchens will have gas cookers, so you don't need to bring in your gas cooker, you just need to bring in your pots and pans and whatever food you're going to eat. I like doing the track backwards, take steak in for the first night, and all the people on the last night get a bit hungry. What are you bought in steak? Yeah, you only have to carry it for a day, and then the rest you can be on the dried food and the pasta, but that's fine. So yeah, so it's just a lot easier. You just need to bring in a sleeping bag, a sleep sheet, your warm clothes, your food, and some cooking utensils. You don't need the tents, you don't need the trangiers and all your cooking equipment. So your Great Walks are going to be like that. Now, some of the Great Walks are super popular. The Milford Track only allows 90 people on per day. It was described in 1906 as the finest walk in the world. When bookings open, you've got to get one of those 40 independent spots each day. And so that track sells out pretty quick. But some of the other tracks have a lot more space on them. So that's the Great Walks tier. Then you've got sort of the mid-range tier. This includes tracks like the Hollyford Track, Pinnacles in Coromandel, the Brent Track, some of the other coastal walks. So you might have a Great Walk, and then you'll have some side walks, Greenstone and Caples, which is next to the Rootburn Track, which is a great walk. These tracks are more mid-range, like they're a little bit more challenging. Some of the tracks are not as well maintained because, you know, it's a lot of work to keep them up to standard. There might not be bridges, there might just be 2 wires going across the river, which you edge your way across, as you all know, or you might just have to do straight up river crossings, do it safely, all good. And then you've got some more sort of backcountry tracks where there might not be any huts, or they might just be a lean-to. That's all the, you know, they'll say you go out to the hut, you get there, there's a lean-to, or there's a bit of corrugated iron on it, and you're open to the stars. So there's that level of tracks, and the track might not be developed, it might just be blazes, so you just got to follow the blazes. And you might be one of 200 or 300 people that do that track each year. So Dusky Track's a good example of that one. And there's quite a few others, and so that makes up the majority of that 15,000 kilometers of tracking that I'm talking about. So those are your 3 levels. Now the Great Walk, like I said, is designed for everybody to be able to do. you know, as long as you're moderately fit, you know, they're still hiking, you're still carrying your backpacks. The mid-level tracks, most people can do, but more for like if you've had some hiking experience. And those other tracks, look, make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you know where you're going and to get good local advice. So once you know roughly what you want to do, I would advise you before coming to New Zealand to go on to the DOC website, DOC website. Check out the great walks, check out the walks for where you want to go, choose what type of conditions. So these hikes go from ones that just follow beaches like the Rakiura, which is a 3-day hike around the top end of Stewart Island that's mostly following the coastline, so lots of beaches, it's quiet, there's a good chance of seeing kiwis, rough weather, bit cold. Abel Tasman, which is beautiful little beaches and bays surrounded by native forest. Some of them are river valley hikes where you're just following rivers down. Then you've got the alpine hikes, so Milford, Kepler, Kahurangi, though that's a bit of beach and a bit of alpine. Yeah, which are the others. So those are some of the main alpine tracks, but Routeburn, Milford and Kepler are the 3 main famous great walks for alpine tracks, but there's a whole bunch of other ones, of course, especially in places like Arthur's Pass and Mount Cook National Park. They have a lot of alpine tracks as well. The alpine tracks in Mount Cook are very high. You're going up to 3,000, 3,500 meters, so make sure you know your ice climbing and all that type of stuff. And then you've got, yeah, sort of in the North Island, it's not quite as high, but we've got volcanoes there. So you've got, you might have heard of the Tongariro Crossing, which is a day hike. It's about 11 miles across the Tongariro volcano. And then you have the Northwest Circuit, which is actually one of the great walks. And that's around Mount Ruapehu, which is, if you've ever watched Lord of the Rings, you've seen it exploding. So it's used as a backdrop for quite a few Lord of the Rings scene and the Lonely Mountain and all that type of stuff. So you've got that one as well. So that's a volcanic. So you've got all these different landscapes and areas you want to see. So you can go onto the Department of Conservation website, you can find out where you want to go. Another thing I would recommend if you are looking at New Zealand is there's an app called Plan My Walk, and that has all the walks that Department of Conservation manages. And so that's from short 1-hour walks down to a cove or a beach, right up to the 10 days that you'd need to do the Dusky Track, or maybe the 2 weeks for the Northwest Circuit, which is a 16-day walk around the very isolated part of Stewart Island. And if you're really keen, you can add it to the 20 days walk around the southern part of the Stewart Islands, so you know you can make it a 36-day walk. Another thing that's becoming very, very popular, which is not part of the DOC system, but I'll just mention it, is the Te Araroa Trail. And that runs from the very north of the North Island to the very south of the South Island, or from the very south of the South Island to the very north of the North Island, whichever way you want to go. It's about 3,000 kilometers, so about 2,000 miles. Most people like to do it in about 4 months. Some people mission it, 30 Ks a day, you can probably do it in 3, but most people would rather do it in 4 months, 5 months maybe. Just take your time over the summer. The winter, you've got to plan it very carefully. There's a lot of alpine sections, especially in the South Island. So again, and you need to organize food drops for winter time especially. But it covers right down the country, so sometimes you're walking along the roads, sometimes you're walking in the bush, sometimes you're walking across farmland, but it starts at the very north to the very south. So that's a Te Araroa Trail. If you've done the Pacific coast or the Appalachian, then the type of thing you need to do won't be too far out of your comfort zone. But I did listen to one on the radio, and a lady took her 7-year-old daughter, so it can be done by people of all ages. You just got to break it up into manageable bits. So that's most of it. It's just getting the idea. So if you choose a hike and you want to do it, the first thing you do is go on the Department of Conservation website. They manage the huts. You can take tents. There's many tramps and hikes, especially on the not great walks, where you can take a tent, camp. You're allowed to go anywhere in the bush, but just that standard rule, just take pictures and leave everything in there. Hunting is also very popular in New Zealand, and because of our biology, all the introduced animals, so we have introduced deer, goats, pigs, cats, dogs, tahr, chamois, all these animals are introduced, and they're a major conservation issue for New Zealand. New Zealand was a bird's paradise, and these mammals cause major issues. So we actually like people to come and hunt in New Zealand. So if you are a hunter, you can contact guiding organisations, hunting organisations that'll set you up and everything like that. So if you want to come out and help us save our wildlife, if you're a hunter, feel free. We'd be very happy to see you. The more deer you shoot, the more possums you shoot, the more goats you shoot, the more tar and chamois you shoot, the happier we are as a country. You're very welcome. Just do not shoot the native birds. That's what we're trying to protect. But those, you want some good antler racks from elk and red deer, feel free to come down. Yep, so yeah, get hold of Doc. You can make your bookings online, especially for the busy tracks, the great walks, you know, especially Milford, Routeburn, try and get in early. Maybe the Northwest and Abel Tasman can also get busy. There is some private land along there, so you can arrange other things. So just get in early on those ones, but it's all managed through the Doc offices. Even if you turn up in New Zealand not sure what you want to do, that's fine. You just go to the local area, you find the Doc office, go inside, they'll have lists of all the tracks in the area. You'll be able to talk to the people behind the desk. They'll give you the heart passes, you'll pay for them. So the basic ones are like $10 a night up to maybe $90 or $100 a night for the Milford track, because it's demand based and we're trying to keep it to 40 people a day. So we don't want to ruin your experience on the Milford track. If we let it open, there could be 300 or 400 people a day doing it. It's limited to 40. So that's, the experience is not ruined, but it does mean it's very hard to get on. But the other tracks, you know, there might be 50 or 60. It spreads out, you'll make some good friends, you're generally going on the same route. And then the other tracks, the not great walk tracks, you're much freer in what you can do. But yeah, you can take tents and hike. The conditions in New Zealand are tough. Now, because we don't have bears and lions and mountain lions and coyotes or hyena, you know, none of those dangerous animals in New Zealand, people tend to underestimate the risks of hiking in New Zealand. We have very changeable weather. Bill can tell you all about it, and probably got some good videos showing you how changeable it is. We can go from, okay, today's been pretty chilly, it's about 12 or 13 degrees in our talk, so that's about the mid 60s. Tomorrow we're going to be high 70s, early 80s. We had snow in the mountains. It was the 2nd of March, or the 3rd of March, and we had snowfall on the roads and the hills around where we're staying in Queenstown. We can go from torrential rain, 250 millimeters of rain a day, so 2 or 3, we can have up to 2 feet of rain a day, sometimes even more in some areas, and that's in 24 hours. It's not unusual to have 1 foot of rain in a 24-hour period. That's very, very, very usual. So you've got to be prepared for that wet weather. River crossings are dangerous. We've lost too many people to river crossings. If the river looks high, go back to the hut or go back to your campsite. New Zealand weather, as they say, if you don't like it, wait 5 minutes. The weather will change, the rivers will drop, and they drop fast. They rise fast, they drop fast. But, you know, don't, like, if you think the river's a little bit messy, just go back and wait. No one's going to be angry with you. The dock guys know what it's like, they've been out there. But river crossings are one of the most dangerous things that have happened. But talk to the local dock people when you're booking your track. They'll get you sorted out. They'll let you know what the weather forecast is. They'll give you a warning. They might say, just wait a day, go another day or something like that. Don't take it personally. They're just trying to save themselves, 36 hours of search and rescue and picking up bodies. They don't like doing it. So that's a big part of it. PLBs are recommended, but not. Yeah, we like PLB, especially if you're doing the great walks and the more popular non-great walks like the Routeburn or Tuataupariri or Queen Charlotte. You don't need a PLB, but if you want to go further off and do some of the more outback walks or go more into off-trail stuff, and trust me, off-trail stuff in New Zealand is really tough. The bush is thick, and a lot of places it's wet, mossy, slimy. I've had days where I've done 5 miles in a day. I've got 5 miles, and seriously, after that you just want to get back on the track. I know, but yeah, if you're keen on hunting, that can be the type of conditions. Definitely take a PLB on those. If if you're planning on doing that. And you can rent them in New Zealand. There'll be lots of sports shops, outdoor shops, hiking shops where you can get stuff. New Zealand has great outdoor equipment manufacturers. We've got Earth, Wind and Fire, Macpac, Kathmandu. We use a lot of merino wool. It's produced in New Zealand. Icebreaker was founded here. So, you know, if you're a bit short on gear, wet weather gear especially, you can buy it in New Zealand. The prices are pretty reasonable. Especially on the wet weather gear, like when you're on the west coast of the South Island, you're talking about places that have up to a metre of rain in a day. So we make the raincoats that suit our conditions. You come down with Gore-Tex and flimsy stuff, it's not going to handle the big rainstorms we get. I know it's great, I've used it myself, but yeah, you want a big jacket or a good solid poncho that can keep you dry when it's, you know, it's really bucketing down. And just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. For those alpine people, Mount Cook National Park's where you want to look. For those coastal people, you've got Abel Tasman, Punakaiki, Paparoa National Park, Stewart Island. For those forest people, you've got Te Urewera National Park, basically all of them, but the Fiordlands area. For those people that like volcanoes, you've got Tongariro National Park, that's in the centre of the North Island. You've got all these different varieties of places. You've got hikes that run from a few hours to several weeks and several months. So yeah, feel free to come down, check doc always, and download the Plan My Hike app from the Department of Conservation, and you can have it all sorted. Just one other thing, don't plan too much in advance. The weather is huge in New Zealand. It's you don't want to be stuck in a schedule. Give yourself time to make changes. Do, like if you're doing the Milford because you had to book that early and give yourself space in between and don't get too stressed. If you can't do the hike you wanted because of bad weather, you can maybe go somewhere else and do maybe the Copeland track or do just an overnight track rather than the 5-day track you wanted. Just be as flexible as you can. Flexibility is a very important thing. And remember, if you see a river that looks scary, wait. If it's not raining, it'll go down and you'll be able to cross it in safety. That's really important. Anyway, thanks for your time. I hope I haven't bored you. I hope I haven't turned off all Bill's subscribers. Keep following the guy. He's a great laugh. He's a great person to get to know. And thank you very much.